Yeah, so let's look at our question. The question was on VBM. I'm sure from what we learned in class, all of us are able to explain VBM, isn't it? Value-based management. An approach to management which looks at the long-term performance of the organization. And which also emphasizes the concept of shareholder value creation. So where we're coming from is that the traditional performance measures, which are profit-based, have a weakness. They are good, okay? We don't throw them away, but on their own, they have a weakness. And the weakness that they have is that they are short-term. They don't look at the long term, no. They are short term. So one performance measures that encourage long-term shareholder value creation. Now, value-based management is an approach to the managing organization where we focus on value. And it's got some steps that must be followed. And these steps, it looks like the examiner likes these steps. And it's something that we all must pay attention to. These steps here. Produce a strategy for maximizing value. Define performance targets. Create a plan to achieve the targets. Set up measurement and reward systems. To me, it would appear that from the examination point of view, if you are preparing for VBM, you must pay attention to this because not the only time that the question came. No. The knowledge of these steps and nicely explaining them has not come only once. So this time around, the examiner just picked this one. Define the performance targets. Now, I should admit this wasn't an easy question. The question looked a bit abstract. Advise the directors on the implementation of value-based as requested. So what was the request? The directors have however, asked you for further advice on one aspect of the implementation of VBM at T. At a recent presentation, the consultant presented a slide showing the 4 steps in implementing VBM. The directors want your advice on how to implement step 2, which is defining performance targets. Your advice should focus on the following 4 areas. Number 1, selection of appropriate measures and targets. So this was quite a tough question. Appropriate measures and targets. So what would be appropriate measures and targets? Now it's the issue was how was VBM going to help this question, this company? I think that's where we're supposed to start from. Why was VBM being discussed here? What was the background to VBM here? Let's go. I just know what the issue was.
So I think one of the issues could be that the company is short-term focused. Just about because like the government complaint, they are just focusing on just satisfying the shareholders. And also, they are not even measuring, they are not using appropriate measure to even measure the objective of wealth maximization. So VBM is going to help them to redirect their focus to long-term value creation and also measuring, using an appropriate measure to capture that, which is EVA instead of the rules they are currently using.
Yeah. So if you read through this question, what was coming out? Okay, yeah, there's this aspect, yeah. What was coming out is that the future of the company was not very good. The future of the company was not very good. Competitors were coming, and these competitors were given two items that within 1 year, the unit cost was going to be similar to our company. Within 3 to 5 years, the quality of the product will be compared with the current quality of the products, of these products. Team may have to invest heavily in product development and make acquisitions. This is what the question was. So they needed a strategy for value creation, for shareholder value creation, because in no time, the shareholders are going to be in trouble because of these competitors. So they needed a shareholder value creation concept. Here, what are they talking about? What are they suggesting? Product development. They are suggesting making acquisitions. So, what performance indicators were needed? The clue was, there's one here, unit cost. You need to start monitoring unit cost. So in the targets for the next 1 year, you need to set targets. Secondly, the issue of quality, next 3 to 5 years, you needed another target related to quality. So the performance measures that you needed here, one was related to unit cost. Short term, within 1 year. Long term, you need quality. You need to measure these two items. That's where the question was. Product development and making acquisitions in the future. These are additional strategies that were needed for value creation, because the competitors are going to take over. So your question was hovering around here. So now let us see, address the question. Selection of appropriate measures. What measures were appropriate? Well, we're supposed to explain that they needed a strategy of value creation in view of the competitors that were coming. And looking at the items on which the competitors were likely to surpass us, you needed costs and quality. You need to monitor this. Time scales to which the targets should relate. The cost, they are saying within 1 year. So we need short term. What are we going to do? Quality, they are saying 3 to 5 years. Management levels in the business to which the targets should relate. Yes, some of them would be operational, others would be strategic. They're talking about acquisitions. Those acquisitions they're mentioning, those are high level. Product development. What of costs? These are operational issues, isn't it? Remember, if you look at your performance pyramid, performance pyramid, remember? These are operational issues. These are operational issues. Difficulties in measuring and managing performance using VBM. Now, this one was a little bit easy. I think a number of us managed to see the point, managed to mention a number of points of the difficulties in measuring and managing performance using VBM. Mainly we spoke about the information. There's also the issue of culture. Shareholder value creation is a new culture which would have to be introduced. Some of you also mentioned that it's something new to the organization. So these are the items that could have given you the answers, eh? So those time scales being mentioned there, 1 year, 3 to 5 years, acquisitions, the cost and quality, those were the items. Your comments?
So say.
Interesting.
Interesting, really.
Mm.
So I was trying to find myself there, but then I couldn't. So we were supposed to mention like the layout was supposed to have like 4 headings, and then in selection of, and then we mention each of those things in these different headings.
Here we have said that what we're going to talk about, we're going to say that the measures should relate to the value creation.
Okay.
The challenge that we're having is competitors coming in, and within 1 year, they would have matched our cost. Within 3 to 5 years, they would have matched our quality. So
Okay.
for us to create value, the performance measures should have been
Okay.
the cost and the quality to respond to what is happening. The time scales which targets should relate. This one, they said 1 year. So this one was 1 year short term. Remember, the term targets are shorter, that's long term. Cost, because they're talking about 1 year, that's short term. Quality is long term, because they're talking about 5 years. And also they mentioned something. They mentioned that the company is thinking about what? Product development. And also they're thinking about acquisitions. These are long term. So cost management targets short term, quality management, product development, acquisition, these are long term. Management levels, these are operational management issues. Those are strategic management issues.
And then in the last one, difficulties in measuring.
Now, you know, when you VBM, one of the issues with VBM is information. They said the information they had was too basic for the size of its
Okay.
company. So they needed to introduce a new information system was certainly needed here,
Okay.
which was covering both financial and non-financial. There was supposed to be a change in terms of culture as well. Whenever you're introducing VBM, you need to change from a short-term to long-term thinking. You also need to change your thinking to shareholder value.
And then you also would mention that some of the directors were not yet convinced, so they
No, you are
needed to
not.
change.
You are
They
not.
need to change their culture from the top. Okay.
It was a tough question in the exam, this one. It wasn't
It
easy.
was. It was. Okay.
But the clue would have been, what is the problem? How would the VBM help the company with the problem that they have? So the coming in of competitors was the bigger issue. This was a big issue. Okay. So out of 15 marks, if you got 8, that's good to me. Those who got 9, that's very good. If you got 7, not bad.
Yeah.
Now, where I expected everybody to do well personally is here. Evaluate both whether T has created value, that is one, and difficulties of using EVA as a performance indicator. Now, this is where we are supposed to do well, because using EVA as a performance indicator, what are the problems? I would even start from there. Using EVA as a performance indicator, what are the problems?
I would start with the fact that it's complicated with too many adjustments.
Yeah. So that is one. Number 2.
Calculation of WACC,
Yeah.
cost of equity.
The cost of equity, the cost of debt. Number 3.
Absolute measure.
An
Not
absolute measure.
comparison of different side company. The company side.
The next one. The next one.
Would it be valid saying because of its complexity and introducing it for the first time, the managers would find it difficult to understand, or it's covered in one of those points?
Evaluate both whether difficulties of using EVA as a performance indicator. It will still work here. That is quite a new concept. Yeah? So acceptance.
Okay.
The examiner wanted just to give you some marks here, because they knew that this was tough. It was tough.
But then
Another one here. You'll still be using your historical figures.
okay.
You're using historical figures. And now what I notice is that when there's a computation on this paper, people become so jittery. When there's just a computation, I don't think the students here are prepared for any computation. That's what I've noticed here. Any computation, the students become so jittery. This EVA, the EVA which were given here, I think was one of the easiest. Daniel, did you notice what you didn't do or what you did?
Yeah, I made one
You're
mistake.
supposed to get 5 out of 5, right?
Yes.
You're supposed to get 5 out of 5. I just said, but look at this person now, they have lost 5 out of 5. Because, let's go. Profit after tax, PAT. 6,630. You add back. What do you add back? During the year, 450 advertising generates cost, which generates sales in the future periods was expensed. So they expense this one, advertising. What are we supposed to do?
Add back.
Add back. The allowance for doubtful debts at the end of the period was 300, a reduction of 200 from the beginning. How do you treat a reduction?
It deducts.
How was it treated earlier on?
They've added it to.
It was part of your profit.
That's an profit. Yeah.
So the provision you remove, how much is that?
200.
200. Let's go to the next one. After tax with average cost, so that's okay. Capital employed, that's okay. There's the interest or the finance charge. Net of tax. So you get 1.5 multiplied by, what's the tax rate here?
0.7.
So net multiplied by 8%. So how do you get? How much do you get?
0.78.
7?
0.78, not.
Oh, 0.78. Oh, 78%. 78%. What does that give us?
1,170.
1,170.
70.
So what is your NOPET?
8,050.
The work is given. This time it was given 9%. The capital employed at the beginning. So capital employed. Balance brought down. Let's go. What do we put now? Before, what was it? It was a provision. What did they do with the provision? There's a provision of how much? A reduction of 200. So it means that at the beginning there was how much?
Or 500.
At the beginning of the year. So this 500, what was the impact? What was the impact here of the provision? This provision, how do you treat your provision?
You mean normally?
This provision was included in here. How did we treat it in here? I'm waiting for your answer.
Daniel, please.
What was the effect here? How did we treat this figure? As we ended last year, what was the effect of the provision? Was it subtracted or added in this figure?
It would have been subtracted.
Yeah, so what should we do?
We add it back.
Add it back. So what is the answer here?
It will be 89.4.
89?
444, something like that.
So what was the even now?
Root 050 minus 89. Times 9.
What is your answer?
One or what?
Yeah?
09 times 89444 is 8,049.
Yeah.
What answer do you get? What answer do you get?
I'm getting one.
That's the rounding of error. The answer should be what?
0.
0.
Okay. If I rounded up,
This one is a serious examine, eh? He's playing around with people's minds now. Where you get an even of what? Huh? No value created, no value destroyed. Interesting, eh?
Yes.
No value created. No value destroyed. So please, we must be ready for an either question. Okay, so this was the question. Okay, this was a question. So this week we are going back to what? This week we are going back. We have done a 50 mark. We are going back to 225 mark.
Okay, so
We need to go back to 225 mark questions. Okay. Good. Where are we now? We are closing down our syllabus. We'll go to area A. And go to area B. These two. So there are some strategic models here that we start looking at in our next class. So next class, we look at strategic planning models. Prominently, the BCG matrix. This is one of the prominent models that we want to look at. So that's where I'm moving to people. So in our next class, we'll take our area A of the syllabus, identify the modules, and hammer those modules, then bring in part B2. Okay. Please start creating time for study. And where possible, I hope you take some time off for the exam.
Okay, sir.
Hmm?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, as discussed the last time
Hmm.
about cost of quality that you said we look at. You have not even helped me mark my question.
The cost of quality.
Yes.
So the cost of quality, let's put it for Saturday.
Okay, sir.
It's very important because it may come in the future test. So we need to look at our cost of quality. All right, people. I hope you are arranging now to take some time off. At least you need a week off, so that you sit down and you do something.
Possible.
Is it possible?
So,
It's not possible for some of us.
Not possible. It will be straight from the office to the exam room.
If I get a day,
yeah, I'm taking leave. I have to take leave.
How many days are you taking?
I will take not less than 8 days.
8
Wow.
days.
Minimum of 8 days or 10 days.
If I get a day, I'll
Because
be
I
very
still have 2 days left from last year.
Mm.
So, and I should have up to 7 days so far.